Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Fallout. This episode is all about the tight ends. If you're new to the show, I briefly run through who was projected to score well, who did score well, and what does that mean for waiver wire claims for Week 11, which I will give you my top 5 for tight ends, and then also projecting forward. Are there players that you should drop, players that you should be paying attention to, so on and so forth. I also hand out my awards. This week I have 2 for the tight ends. The Kicked in the Nuts Award. Somebody kicked me in the nuts. I'm sure somebody kicked you in the nuts in fantasy football, so you let me know who kicked you in the nuts. Did somebody beat your team that you weren't expecting? Did you expect big things out of somebody? You let me know. I also have an I'm Watching You award. Somebody should be on your radar in a very specific scenario, and we'll discuss later. Before we get rolling, as I always say, please, 2 seconds of your time for 2 clicks, a like and a subscribe. We need your support to grow. We need to unlock some features. We want to make these videos better. The only way we can do that is with your support, and that support would be basically in the way of subscribing, so please do that. Now let's quickly run through the projected top 10 tight ends from ESPN. We have Travis Kelce, Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, Gerald Everett, Jared Cook, Jason Witten, Greg Olsen, and Jack Doyle. Now, who did score well? Well, you know what? ESPN probably did as well as I've ever seen them do in a position group here. They've had 7 out of 10. So you have Mark Andrews, Rudolph, Kelce, Olsen, Howard, Doyle, Ferkser. I always want to call him Frisker. Then I got, Henry, Everett, and Cook. Now, the ones in white were the ones that ESPN projected to score well. And I got to say, why did they do so well is I think you had some odd ones that you wouldn't necessarily be there. Obviously you're not going to get Ferkser. Jonnu Smith was the obvious kind of guy if you're going to look for a Tennessee tight end there. But I wouldn't worry about that. That's going to happen. We saw it in Chicago. The secondary tight end got a touchdown. It happens week to week. It just is what it is. Henry, Everett, Cook. These were all kind of matchup based. Greg Olsen had a great matchup. Jack Doyle with the injuries to all of the Indianapolis receivers. And in fact, Jack Doyle, he got in the end zone, and that's a great. But Eric Ebron actually had 12 targets. So they're going to more of a 2 tight end thing, because they have to do what they have to do to try to win games. You got Andrews obviously doing great. So no surprises here. Again, I don't have a dumpster vomit award this week for tight ends because everybody pretty much did, I thought, what they were expected to do. So great for them. What I do have, though, is a Kicked in the Nuts award. And I will say that Ferkser guy for Tennessee, great for him, I guess. Great for Tennessee because they pulled off the upset and all that. But Jonnu Smith, I was really hoping that he was going to have that coming out party. Do I think that you should pick him up? Ferkser, no. I still think Jonnu Smith is the guy. He's ascending. Delaney Walker, he's been out. He'll be back in and have something to say about it. But it's just one of those things. If you started Jonnu Smith off the waiver wire this week, hoping that he would go off, you got Tennessee hitting their tight end, and it was the wrong tight end. Ugh, right in the balls. You broke my heart. You broke my balls, my man. And then who am I watching? I'm Watching You award is Kyle Rudolph. What's interesting is I still don't like him as a stretch the field guy or move the chains guy like Darren Waller in Oakland. He's always integrated in the offense. Kyle Rudolph, I think he had maybe 4 catches, something like that, 14 yards, but 2 touchdowns. So what does that mean? Kirk Cousins trusts him in the goal line. And when Adam Thielen isn't there, I know he tends to throw to Adam Thielen on the goal line. When Adam Thielen's out and he's got that hamstring, so he's going to be a little bit iffy for the next few weeks here. You got a guy like Kyle Rudolph. If you're in a touchdown-only league, or if you're really desperate, on a bye week or something like that, you can take a look at him. So that's the one scenario. When Thielen comes back, I don't really like him so much. They like to use him more as a blocker, but Cousins trusts him on the goal line, so you can't discount that by any means. Okay, so let's look at my favorite 5 waiver wire claims as of Monday morning for the tight end position. Darren Fells still only owned 27.5% of the league. He's leading the league in touchdowns for tight ends, everybody. I mean, 27.5%. But pick him up. Yeah, I know he was on bye week, but go ahead and do so. Jack Doyle, I mentioned the wide receivers for Indianapolis are banged up. They are going to utilize both tight ends in this passing game. Doyle has been scoring well consistently pretty much all year, but especially the last couple of weeks. Even I think Ebron is worth the pickup as well. He gets a lot of targets as well. These guys are, don't think of them as tight ends. Think of them as basically the main weapons of the passing game because that's what they are at this point, along with Pascal there. Jonnu Smith and Jacob Hollister, they're in white because they're going to be on bye week in Week 11, but I like them moving forward into the season. And then Jason Witten, old faithful, I guess, and I do stress old, but the future Hall of Famer there, only owned in 60% of the leagues. I think he can give you some value. I think that's scraping the bottom of the barrel a little bit. I tend to like Hollister or Smith more. If you need a plug and play, how can you go wrong with the guy who's leading the league for tight ends in touchdown passes? Darren Fells, go out and get him, everybody, for crying out loud. Even if you don't need a tight end, if you have a roster spot, pick him up, for crying out loud. Pick him up. But those are my guys. That takes me through the episode for the tight ends. Once again, if somebody kick you in the nuts, I want to hear about it. It's my favorite thing of the week is to hear everybody else's pain as well, because I go through mine. Everybody goes through it, so let's talk about it. Let's have some fun with it. I do every position group. Running backs, quarterbacks, wide receivers, and defense and special team will be out there. I don't do kickers because they're so volatile and commoditized anyway. It doesn't make any sense. And then, please like, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you on another episode soon. Thanks, everyone.